From what I've seen, some people here just like get angry randomly. Sometimes they scream things that I don't understand.
Hi guys, welcome back to another video here. Today we have a special guest again, and
My name is Nadeen.
Nadeen from Jordan. So we're gonna explore Nadeen's story and how she sees Budapest in her 2-year experience here. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started. Alright, hey Nadeen. So, can you introduce yourself and describe like where you're from and
So my name is Nadeen and I'm a student here. I came from Jordan, Amman, which is the capital, but originally I'm from this really historical, tight-knit city called Madaba, which is a bit close to Amman, 30 minutes away.
Did you know where Budapest was when you came here?
During my last year of high school, I've heard about Hungary from a lot of students who were older than me who decided to apply here to study medicine.
Okay.
So I did some research on it and I decided to apply as well.
Okay, do you have any other choice between Budapest and some other cities?
Mainly thinking about continuing to study in my hometown, but I thought I might as well try for Hungary as well to see what it's like to live abroad.
And how did you feel when you get here the first time?
Well, the first time I came here, it was actually my first time moving out of my parents' house and living somewhere all by myself. So I was excited because it was gonna be a new experience. Part of it was exhausting, like moving here for the first time, having to take all my luggage with me and all that, but I was still pretty excited. The first apartment that I moved to here, I moved in with a few flatmates and I've never met them before, so I was also excited to meet new people for the first time. I came here for 2 years, a year and a half of these I've been spent in lockdown and quarantine, so I wasn't able to visit as much as I wanted to, but during my first semester I tried to visit like the tourist attractions, Parliament, the fashion street.
Okay, so have you been outside of Budapest?
Yeah, I visited Lake Balton last year around Christmas time, and I went to Tihany, which is...
Oh, that's very beautiful.
Yeah, it was one of the best places that I've been to. I think I like it like even more than the capital here.
What do you think about like as a non-Hungarian? Is it easy to get around here in Budapest?
Actually, compared to my home country, the transport here is a lot better. It's way easier to get around. When I first came here, I use Google Maps, get around, but I guess now I'm used to it and I've memorized most of the transport.
So in Jordan, you say that public transport is not that good?
It's like non-existent. Basically, we
Really?
mostly use like Ubers to get around, so.
What would be your number one tip for, I don't know, a friend of you who might come here for study or travel?
So my number one tip for the people who are planning to come here is to visit the thermal bathhouses that are in Hungary. I've never heard of them before coming here, but I think it was like a new experience to try here. I thought swimming in like hot water might be weird at first, but when I tried it, it wasn't actually that bad, so I think I'd recommend that.
Okay. Do you cook for yourself here at home because of the quarantine, or you still go out and try other foods?
Well, I don't go out that much. I order sometimes. It's pretty easy. There are like multiple apps for like food delivery, and they're usually pretty quick. Like they arrive in like 20 minutes. They have translation options, and most of the people who do deliver food here speak English, so that was never a problem for me.
Okay. So how about food? What are your favorite food here in Budapest?
I haven't tried Hungarian food per se. I'm vegan, so I usually stay away from meat, and I know that's like a big thing, I guess, with the dishes here. I know like some of like the popular ones like goulash soup.
Yeah.
And there's this like cold fruit soup. It's a Hungarian dish, but I've never heard of it before. I mean, I'd love to try it, but I'm pretty sure it has like milk in it. I don't know, being vegan here wasn't as hard as I expected. Back home, like our cuisine is mostly vegan food. Hummus, falafel, all that is usually vegan, so it's pretty easy to eat there. I was a bit nervous coming here, but there are actually a lot of substitutes. They sell a lot of soya here, so it's pretty easy to make mock chicken, and there are a lot of like options when it comes to restaurants and all that.
And how are these hummus places compared to your country?
They're not as good as the ones back home, really. The recipes are like very different. Like they're not.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're more based on like Greek for Turkish food than Arabic food. We don't put yogurt in our sandwiches, but I know here that they do, which was like really difficult for me to get used to because we never do that.
What's your favorite food in your country, Jordan?
My favorite dish would be yalanji, which isn't actually that hard to find here. It's just a lot more expensive here than it is back home. It's spiced rice and vegetables wrapped in vine leaves.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, which they do sell here, but it's usually in like small quantities. Like back home, we usually make like huge amounts of it.
What was your best and worst experience here in Budapest so far?
My best experience is like meeting new people here, going out and all that. We can't do that anymore, really. Visiting like the thermal bathhouses, I think that was like a really new experience. My worst experiences here, usually people in the streets, they can be mean, sometimes they can be a bit angry. From what I've seen, some people here just like get angry randomly. Sometimes they scream things at me I don't understand. But I usually just walk away and it ends up being okay.
Were they like screaming at you or just like, you know, by themselves?
Well, sometimes they're screaming at other people or whatever, but sometimes they do scream at me and I have no idea what they're saying.
Okay, I hope nothing bad, right?
Probably bad. I mean, I'm used to it back home, but back then I kind of knew what they were saying, so I could like say stuff back, but here I have no idea if they're even talking to me or what. So that was like a weird experience to me. But I think after 2 years here, I just got used to it. Like I just like ignore it now.
Would you able to recognize that's Hungarian or not?
Yeah, I think I would be. Because I've been here for a while, so yeah, after some time, like you kind of realize like, yeah, that's Hungarian. Sometimes if I hear people who are like tourists here, whatever, speaking in a different language, I can always tell that they're tourists and they're not actually Hungarian. Hungarian is a pretty hard language to learn.
Did you try learning it?
I've tried learning it. We take Hungarian classes at university, but as soon as the class ends, I usually forget everything I've learned. The only words I really remember are like Sia, Kasi, Yonapat, which are like the only words I use everyday language.
Yeah, it is very difficult. I think it's ranked like one of the most difficult languages as well.
It is. That's because it's really different from the other like Latin languages. That's because I don't think it's originally from Latin.
And what was the most difficult thing to get used to it?
Well, it wasn't that hard. It was actually really easy to get to. I guess like my culture, maybe it's a bit harder to get used to it. It's a bit more strict. So coming here, it was way less strict and way more easier to get used to. But one thing I miss is how welcoming everyone was in my country. And although people here, many of them are nice, but the culture here isn't as welcoming as the one that I'm used to. In my culture, welcoming foreigners and welcoming people, strangers, even people that you don't know is like the most important thing. You welcome them into your home, you give them food, you do whatever.
Really? For a stranger, they do that?
Well, yeah, especially during holidays.
Okay.
We don't like leaving people in need and all that.
Let's talk about culture shocks now. Is there any culture shocks you think?
Not really. Even back home, I used to like have a lot of international friends. So I think moving to a new country or like a different culture, it wasn't that big of a shock for me. If you've been exposed to people from different countries and other European cultures, it's not that drastically different. Transportation is a lot different from what I'm used to. I usually don't take trams and like metros that much, so I had to get used to that when I came here. Usually just like use taxis or we use like cars a lot back home.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you only have Uber there.
One thing that was really hard to get used to is how the cinemas here dub most of the movies to Hungarian. So even if the movie is originally in English, it's really hard to find a screening for it in English.
How about housing? Is that any different than in your country?
Well, like the styles of houses are really different here. I guess like the buildings are older, like they were built in a longer time, and many of them were renovated. Also, they look different. The walls are way higher than the ones I'm used to. And the apartments here, from what I've seen, most of them will wrap around a courtyard, which we never have back home. Our buildings are newer because we started developing a bit later than in Hungary, so Most of our buildings were built recently. We don't have courtyards in the middle or anything. I think the housing is like way cheaper in my...
Cheaper?
Yeah, but that's because my country's just a bit cheaper. I mean, as long as you don't live in like the capital or hotspots in the capital, the rent can be pretty cheap. No, the alcohol here is much better.
Oh yeah.
And it's like way more available here than it was back home. Like back home it's like a bit hard to find it. Not that many people drink, so it's not that common to sell there.
So is it more expensive there? Or
Oh yeah, it's like way more expensive.
How much is a beer in Jordan?
Maybe something here that would be like €3, back home is like 16.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
I mean, there are like cheap places, but if you want like good stuff, you'll have to pay more. I guess back home we have like a lot of like homemade wine. We like sell them around like the holidays, usually like in Christian holidays in like small communities. They always make like homemade wine for like Christmas, like which I don't know if they sell here. I know here they sell a lot of like homemade palinka.
Yeah, palinka.
Yeah, I know it's like really strong.
Yeah, have you tried one?
Not yet.
It's Hungarian stuff. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they say like it's made of anything you can find. Let's talk about the dating part. I know it's could be a bit sensitive in your country and stuff. Have you noticed anything different here than there?
It is drastically different.
Yeah.
Like, in my country, culture isn't as like free as it is here.
Here, you would see people kissing on the street, but if you do that in Jordan, I guess they get a fine or something.
I'm pretty sure it's legal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. For us, like public displays of affection is like really frowned upon. Like I guess we're like a bit more private and all that.
Can you hold hands?
Well, yeah.
Hand holding is fine.
Of course.
Okay.
But it's not crazy. It's just like a bit more conservative. Like even me, like sometimes that makes me uncomfortable. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a bit more like open-minded than my country, but some things just like stick with you and they're like, oh, that would make me so uncomfortable.
If you could go back in time, like, when you chose Budapest at that time, would you change it?
Now part of me really misses my home country, but I'm not sure I would like change my choice or anything. I don't think I'd like regret anything, because that's like not a thing I believe in. Even if the experience is bad, which it wasn't, it was good. But even if it was bad, like you should like still never regret it.
So that was for today. I hope you liked Nadeen's story and how she sees Budapest. Let me know in the comments if you agree with her or not. Probably you would hope so. Yeah, hope so. Because she said a lot of good stuff as well with her 2 years experience. So you liked her, then give her a like and subscribe to our channel. So see you next time.
See you.
Bye bye.